Hello, I wanted to talk about anxiety today. So I used to have quite crippling anxiety to the point where I could barely function and I didn't even know what it was. I just was in this place of angst constantly. Through 6 years of counselling and discovering, spiritual teachers who focused quite heavily on shadow work, doing a lot of shadow work and inner child healing, working on my, vibration and my own development, I got to a place where I felt like I got a grip on my anxiety. And then something happened, the other week where I misconstrued something that happened and I went into full-blown panic mode where I thought I was dying. I actually thought my body this was it. Goodbye, cruel world. But no, here I am. So I realized, in the midst of my spiral that this was anxiety I was feeling. So I just wanted to talk on it quickly, what helped me and how I identified that it was, anxiety. It actually makes me wonder how many people present themselves to hospital thinking that they're dying from a heart attack or anything, and it's literally just in their head and their body is following the prompts and flipping out. Because I was this close to calling an ambulance and just passing out. Like I was this close until I realized that this was actually an anxiety attack. So I guess concentrate on how it feels in your body. Whenever you start to feel on edge, off center, a little bit, how does that feel in your body? Does it feel like your limbs are kind of going numb, or are you a bit clammy? Do your muscles feel a bit weak? Does your stomach feel in knots? Are you having trouble, keeping a thought, finishing a thought, or starting a task and not being able to finish it, and then needing to just keep, trying to dispel this crazy energy that you've got through movement? Or are you somebody who starts to verbally attack and act out when you are feeling on edge, because that helps you dispel some of that, discharge some of that energy? Are you somebody that, basically we all cope with it in different ways. I start to clean obsessively. I need to small repetitive movements. That's what helps me remove some of that charge from those feelings. But that's when I'm on top of it. When I'm not on top of it, it can get out of hand pretty quickly. So I guess recognizing, how does it feel in your body? Have you slept? We expect so much of ourselves when we don't even cover the basics. So on this particular day that I had my epic meltdown, I barely slept. We were up every 10 minutes the night before. Anyone with young kids, we've all been there. Every now and then you have your nights. Have you eaten? I barely ate that day. I think I had a piece of toast, a cup of tea, and a spoonful of risotto. That was all I had. And then I wondered why, my blood sugar was crashing and my mind was following suit. Have you taken care of yourself? Are you hydrated? Are you well rested? Have you eaten? Have you eaten good things? I'm not talking about, I'm not going to name names. We all know the bad things that we shouldn't be eating. So I guess covering your bases. And then I find when I'm in that place, sometimes it's like there's no reason for it. I'm happy. I'm not stressed. There's nothing going on. So why am I feeling like this? So it might be blood sugar's too low. You're not you when you're hungry, right? Or, there's a lot of talk about people being empaths and picking up on things that aren't yours to process, especially with everything that's going on in the world right now. So you could ask yourself the question, is this mine to process? And then listen to your body. What does it say? Maybe it's not yours. Maybe your partner or parent or friend or someone came home in a foul mood, slammed a couple of cabinet doors because they've had a terrible day. And then you've taken it on because of your wounding and because of your sensitive nature or whatever it may be. Now you're on edge, but it's not your energy to process, it's theirs. So you can, ask yourself that question, see if anything comes up. Grounding, which we've covered in other videos, really helps. Meditative activities, even, I know everyone says go for a walk, but also I loved going down to the beach and look for seashells in the sand and try being stressed while you're doing that. I mean, not everyone has a beach around them. Maybe you can go to your local park and look for twigs or leaves in the shape of a love heart, whatever it may be. But doing a small kind of detailed activity, picking through stuff, for me it was just sifting through the sand and just looking for shells. That it just calmed me down. It gave me a chance to think about things in a non-confrontational kind of erratic way, and it was grounding because you're literally touching the earth. So that's something that helped. Rewiring your brain in terms of circuit breakers. So when I was feeling super stressed and anxious, to the point where I was nearing that, okay, I'm about to lose my mind and I can't function point, I'd say to myself, okay, can I find 5 blue things? Blue, blue, blue. And my brain, my ego would be like, what the hell are you doing? No, this needs your attention now, concentrate. But I was like, no, I need to count 5 blue things, and now I need to count some yellow things, and now I need to, what can I smell and what can I hear, and just bombarding my senses with jobs for them to do. That would snap me out of it. Then, and this is an interesting one, possibly triggering, but in some instances, not all, but in some instances, low-key, like low-grade anxiety is a choice. Something might happen, something that triggers you, something that triggers a trauma or an insecurity or a fear that you have, and you have a choice where you either take it with both hands and run away with it, and you choose to water that seed and keep thinking, oh yeah, but what if that, and really leaning into the feelings that brings up, that sharp, like, oh, what about that? Oh my God. And then like, oh God, even doing that now, my body's like, oh yeah, here we go. No. So you have a choice. Do you go with it? Or do you see the thought and think, there you are, you little bugger, but I see you. I'm not touching you with a 6-foot pole. And that took a lot of practice, and a visualization that helped me do that was pretending that I'm standing on the banks of a river, and the river is my mind. And there's, thoughts like branches in the river, whatever, floating down the river. Each one's a thought. I'm watching it. I can choose to put my hand in and pick it up and look at it and, but I can also choose to stand there and watch it float by and say, yeah, I see you, crappy thought that's telling me I should be insecure and fearful and that something bad's going to happen, I'm going to be abandoned, whatever. Like for me, that was one of my main themes that I struggled with. And you can just watch it flow down the river. You can always tell yourself, okay, I'm not going to think that now. I can think about it later. And then just keep doing that and then just never think about it. So that really helped. Other techniques like emotional freedom technique, EFT, tapping. Tapping isn't something that worked for me immediately. I gave it a good solid couple of goes, and each time I would just think, this is crap, this isn't working for me. I watched all the videos, I didn't like them. But I was stubborn and I persevered. And I found out that for me, I'm not somebody that can think my way through processing things. Well, I can, everyone can, it just takes a lot longer. And this is like our video on embodiment. I need to feel it in my body for me to release it. If I can feel my way through it, done. I mean, I can heal so much trauma so quickly, but I have to be in that space. And I found that if I could just get into that space where I was really feeling the pain of whatever it is I'm going through, really in it, and then forgiving myself for it, forgiving other people that were involved in it, forgiving myself for putting myself through it. I mean, dragging yourself over the coals and allowing yourself to feel like absolute shit over something or someone else's actions or, whatever. You might have, had absolutely nothing to do with it. It was all them and they were an absolute horrible person to you. But allowing yourself to feel that pain, it's not very self-loving. And I would catch myself every time I'd be going down this spiral of, self-righteousness and victim mode and, like, oh my God, why did this happen to me? I feel like shit, fuck you and fuck them and, Pretty sure we've all been there. I would think, well, that's not being very self-loving. What would be the self-loving thing to do now? Well, it wouldn't be to pull my poor body through this crazy cortisol spike. I mean, that's not self-loving. The only person that lives in your head is you. The weather in your head is yours to weather. You know, no one else has to deal with it. No one else has to live in your head. You have to. So if that's the house that you're living in, you've got to look after it. And, you know, if you are ever faced with the choice, and in myself, I can't speak for everyone, in myself, there's always been a point in time, a moment, sometimes just a split second, a fraction of a second, where I could choose to hang on to that thought and feel the things, or I could choose to not. And of course, you know, that sort of bypassing, I mean, that's just a circuit breaker in the moment. You can't, you know, be aware that you have all these things that trigger you and then you're just choosing to ignore them and just distract yourself into oblivion. That's not what I'm saying. It's how do you not fall into the trap of putting yourself into that spiral while also healing it at the same time. So I think, you know, don't pick it up, don't look at it, let it float by. But also when you're not in a triggered state, how can you heal that? You know, question the beliefs. Is this true? You know, Byron Katie's work, is this true? Who would I be without this thought? How would I treat the other person without that thought? You know, flipping it, reframing it. How can you think about it differently? There's a whole plethora of ways to question your beliefs and, you know, knock the legs out from under that table that's holding up your belief, because everything that causes us stress and pain, it's a belief, it's a choice and perception. It might not feel that way. A lot of the time we feel out of control and like life is happening to us, and that, I mean, I lived in that place for so long, trust me, I know. But I've realized a more empowered way to go through life is to feel like I do have control over these things, and my control is my perception. So whenever something happens in my life that I do not like and that causes me stress and pain, I scramble to reframe it as quickly as I can, because the weather in my head is a better place when I do that. So why wouldn't I do that? Yeah, and I guess breaking triggers. If you're, you know, talking to someone or in a situation where you're really starting to feel your stress levels going up, you're getting triggered, you're losing your rational thought, you're starting to yell and, you know, whatever, or like run away from the person, escape from them or the situation, or try to distract yourself. Just try to break the emotional cycle of, you know, something that I learned was when I'm feeling really stressed, just look at what my body's doing. You know, if I'm sitting down, which parts of my body are touching the chair that I'm sitting in right now? Can I feel them each individually? Okay, there's my bum, my legs, my back, you know, my shoulders, say, in this chair, my hair I can feel pulling. Just an example. So again, just reverting back to your senses to see what's going on there and how you can break that circuit so that you can then deal with whatever's coming up in like a you know, measured way, where you're not flipping out and making choices that, you know, might not be the best choices. I've certainly reacted knee-jerk reactions to things in the past where I think back now and think, oh my god, if I could only have just been vulnerable and been like, this terrifies me, this makes me feel so insecure, this makes me feel like I'm not good enough, this is all childhood wounding that, you know, most of us have. I could have handled things so much better. But hey, we live and we learn. But yeah, it's just interesting. Let me know if any of that resonated with you. I'm sure there'll be a part 2 where I think of more stuff, but that's just like a quick crash course on what helped me over the last, you know, couple of decades of severe anxiety. But yeah, feeling into my body really helped. All the best. Mwah.